I was desperate when I walked into that first meeting. And just overwhelmed with the unmanageability of my life. Reading in Romans, the passage where Paul talks about, I do what I don't want to do, and I don't do what I want to do. I mean, that was so strong for me. I had told myself that, okay, I can participate in these behaviors, but I'm not going to sleep with any married men again. And I had been abstinent for several months and completely white knuckling it, and all the while talking to a married man. And there came a day that we met and had sex, and that was bottom. But I got to that first meeting, and it was very important to me that I be able to say that I was a sex addict at that meeting. I don't think I would have gone back if I hadn't been able to make that admission at that time. But it was complete determination that I continued to go back because I was the only female in the room. Mm-hmm. I went to 12-step meetings for several years before I ever went to a meeting that there was another female present. And I know that there are women that have a hard time walking into that room. It's a room with 25 triggers.
Exactly.
And for me, I wanted to get well so badly that I didn't care. And I know that it made a lot of them uncomfortable for me to be there. But you know what? That's not my problem. My problem is getting me healthy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Debbie, what about you? You went to I guess there was a family week at treatment when Mark was at treatment.
Yes.
About the second or third week.
Yes, that's
right. And you went to that. That's really kind of your first exposure to a group environment.
It wasn't an official 12-step
mm-hmm.
meeting, but in its own right, it was my first introduction to being in therapy and group therapy as well as individual therapy. So it was frightening in that sense, in that I think when I walked into that setting, I was a little afraid of what they were going to do with my mind. I was like, was I going to have a lobotomy here? Or, was I going to come out with any kinds of feelings or thoughts? But, immediately when I was engaged in their programs there, I had such a sense of serenity, of knowing that I was in a safe place. And I don't know that I ever would have known how to identify a safe place before then, but I began to realize this was a place where we could talk about anything and still be accepted and heard. And, in some ways I think, God was really teaching me what grace was all about in those moments. And, it took me a while to put all that together, but I just craved it. From then on, I couldn't get enough of it. I wanted to continue to find places like this where I could be with people who really wanted to understand who they were, what they were doing, how to enrich their relationships, how to grow individually. And so I continued to seek out, 12-step meetings and therapy groups and all of that from that day on.